Okay, here we go. 12:02. All right, let's get started. Welcome to the Friday edition of 15 Minutes of Positivity. I always like to send us all off on a Friday into the weekend with something to ponder. So I thought today's theme is the tone is set by this guy here. This is James Clear. He's an author. Wrote a wonderful book called Atomic Habits, about the behavioral aspects and the neurologic aspects of behavior change. And he has this wonderful quote: deliberate practice refers to a special type of practice that is purposeful and systematic. While regular practice might include mindless repetitions, deliberate practice requires focused attention and is conducted with the specific goal of improving performance. And so in our case, as we get together on a daily basis, like, what are the things that we are trying to get better at, or what's the performance that we're trying to improve? And these are the themes that we revisit over and over again. So there's a certain degree of repetition. And the main thing to understand is that these are skills. These are behaviors or approaches or mindsets, or these are things that we can improve with deliberate practice. And that's, to some extent, the essence of what we're doing here with 15 Minutes of Positivity. So some of the hallmarks of deliberate practice that I want to focus on are, the first one is this idea of repetitive performance of targeted activities. So when we sit down and we do a gratitude practice, we need to repeat that practice or activate that part of our brain repeatedly. And it's very specific, right? We're really focusing on what is it like to actually experience the embodied sense of gratitude. We're not just sort of mindlessly doing that. It's very specific and targeted. And there's an element of sort of practicing something that is just outside of our comfort zone. This is what makes deliberate practice difficult, and why, for many of us, we start our yoga practice and then, a few weeks in, we stop, or we start meditating and then we kind of lose interest in it. It's because it's difficult. We're constantly putting ourselves in a place where the desired performance is just out of reach. But that's how we grow. Continual feedback and refinement. So this is a reason that any really high performing professional athlete, executives and so forth, they surround themselves with teachers and mentors and coaches. And in the context of deliberate practice, what we're looking for there is, we need some kind of a feedback loop, right? Because as I'm pushing myself beyond my comfort level, I need someone or some mechanism to give me feedback and say, try it this way or tweak it that way, and see how that works, right? Setting specific goals. So if I really struggle with forgiveness or gratitude, well, I need to set some specific goals. When I think of setting goals, it means like there's a deliberate intention to say, I want to get better at this within this time frame, and here's how much time and effort I'm going to put into it, so that we can actually grow. It takes concentration and effort. So again, that's why I so frequently focus on this concept of focus and concentration, especially when we're doing mindfulness practices, because it's really hard, right? As things get more difficult, it's hard to stay with it and keep our attention on the task at hand. And then this ability to break down these skills into their smaller components. The best description I have there is, I'm an amateur musician, a guitar player, and the difference between me and someone who's a truly professional musician is that I have this tendency to pick up the guitar and do what I call noodling, right? It's strumming, or playing all the stuff that I know how to play already. And what a professional musician would do is say, every piece contains parts that are harder or easier, and they will focus on picking apart the areas where they actually struggle and have a hard time. It's the transition or the chorus or the outro, whatever it might be. And they zero in on that, to some extent, at the exclusion of the stuff that's easy, because they know how to do the easy stuff. So again, this is, makes deliberate practice can be a little bit challenging. But if we do it, we end up activating this wonderful mechanism here that I've shown you a few times before. If I could get it to play. This idea of activating. The video didn't want to play, but we've seen those time lapse images of neurons connecting through these synaptic connections, and that's in essence what deliberate practice is stimulating. It's that process of saying I'm directing, this neuroplastic uh, activation in a direction of my choosing. So let's go ahead and practice that and see see how deliberate practice fits into your general practice. So as usual, let's close our eyes. Just take a minute to ground and arrive, feeling into the body and noticing, how does the body feel right now? Feel calm, relaxed, maybe a little bit agitated, maybe a little speedy. It's okay. We're just noticing right now. We're not trying to change anything. Just taking a real quick inventory of our feet, then our legs, our sit bones and our pelvis, our hips, noticing the belly, our rib cage, shoulders. If you notice yourself slouching or holding any tension anywhere, see if you can just ease into it, just relax a tiny bit more. Heading up the back of the neck, to the head. Setting the intention to that this meditation or this introspection here is really to have sort of create an honest assessment, a self-assessment, or just gauging our relationship to some of these practices that we engage in here. So begin with gratitude. What's your relationship to gratitude? How comfortable do you feel with practicing gratitude? Are there areas that in your gratitude practice where you think, yeah, I could actually probably spend a little more time there? Or is there an area that you look at in terms of your relationship to gratitude where you say, yeah, this is an area that I can improve upon? And looking at gratitude through this lens of deliberate practice, just checking in with yourself that if there is an area of gratitude that you feel like you could improve upon, what would that take? Is it more time spent practicing gratitude? Is it a specific form of gratitude to a specific set of people or parts of your life where you feel that opportunity for improvement? And how might you set some specific goals with respect to your gratitude practice? Is it being more structured, setting aside certain times of the day to practice a specific aspect of gratitude? How will you know that you're getting better at gratitude? What's the feedback that you need either from other people, the feedback you might be able to give yourself? Another area for us to explore is the sense of belonging and relating to others. Again, this is a skill. I know I struggle with it at certain times, but really relating to others in a healthy, loving, wholesome way, it takes effort, it takes practice. It requires a kind of deliberateness to really foster healthy relationships. And so how do you feel about your sense of belonging or your community? Would more repetitive performance look like? What might be some goals to set to say, I really want to improve my ability to relate with others in a way that is meaningful to me? What does that mean exactly? Where's the difficulty in that? Maybe what's stopping you from really engaging in that more deliberately? And then last, but certainly not least, I could spend a whole hour going through these different skills. But the other one that looms large for me certainly is the self-care, the skill. And the more time and attention we give it, and the clearer we become about what it means to take care of ourselves, we can start assessing, how am I doing in that domain? Am I satisfied with my self-care? What are some repetitive activities or behaviors that might really boost my self-care performance, if you will? And how will I know that I'm doing better with self-care? Like, what's the feedback, or what are the ways in which I can measure whether or not I'm actually making progress there? Self-care is obviously a catch-all for a whole bunch of different things, and I'm guessing self-care, well, there's probably overlap. The specifics really matter, and each of us have a specific areas of our lives that we could probably improve upon as they relate to taking care of ourselves. So seeing, if you can identify some specific goals or some specific behaviors and say, yeah, that would be a really worthwhile endeavor to improve my skill level in self-care. Go ahead and take a deep breath in. Exhale all the way. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then go ahead and open your eyes. Come on back to the session. So this is an invitation to maybe spend some time this weekend doing a little mini self-assessment as it relates to a lot of the skills that we're practicing here on the regular, and seeing if you can identify some specifics that would be meaningful to you to practice more deliberately and more intentionally. And then figuring out what would it take to actually really create a deliberate practice in those areas. Anyway, hope that was is thought provoking and helpful. And have a great weekend, everyone. See you on Monday.